Yo YouTube! This is my video for today, which is Friday the 15th of March. It's been as always, a really interesting day. It's had its ups and downs, full of interest. I've been a busy little bee, and I've come out with an okay amount of money, nothing to write home about, but I'm satisfied with what I've done. So let me talk about my day. If you saw yesterday's video, I finished up tramping up just outside of Leeds. I found a really quiet and a really dark place to tramp, and it was pretty warm in my van, so I had quite a comfortable sleep. I did get to sleep quite late because I was driving across to Leeds after watching the film with my daughter, which was really nice, really pleasant. And I woke up naturally about 7. I set the alarm for 8, and my plan was to see if I could get some sort of job heading from the Leeds area to the northeast. And I wanted that job to be picked up in time for me to deliver my existing load, which was a wait and return in Sunderland at 11 o'clock. So I thought, well, if I get a job at about 9 o'clock, that give me time. It'd be about an hour and a half, an hour and a quarter to sort of pick up the load, go to the place, unload, and then I've got an hour and a half, hour and 3/4 of travel time between Leeds and the drop-off. So it was perfectly feasible. I just had to get the right job, go in the right direction. In terms of co-loading, my item was a little box in the cab. So really, the aim was that I would take whatever I was to get directly, so it wouldn't really even be regarded as a co-load, because I would put it in the back of the van with nothing else apart from my tramping kit, and then take it up. And lo and behold, there was a really good job. It was going from Leeds LS1 to, now where was it going to? I think it was Middlesbrough, and I worked out that was about half an hour from my drop off, and the pickup was about half an hour as well. So it gave me time to get to the pickup, pick up the item, take it to Middlesbrough, drop it off, and then get to Sunderland in time for 11. I put a bid on that job, and then I sort of made my way towards the centre of Leeds, and then another job came up that was from LS7, which is north of Leeds, going somewhere like I'm going to say, I'm trying to think of it, Chester Street, yeah, that was it, which again was even better. That was closer to Sunderland, and it was north of Leeds, so I put a bid on that. I didn't get a call back for either of them, and so I sort of made my way. I waited where I was tramping for a bit, then I started making my way towards the centre of Leeds, just in case one of those two bids came through. And as I was on my way to the LS7, I thought, if I get to LS7, it's fine, because I'm going through Leeds anyway. I'll just carry on up to Sunderland if I don't get anything. But then as I got just before the city centre, I had a call from my existing shipper saying that I was able to take my load sooner if I could. So I said to them I was in Leeds and that I'd go straight to Sunderland from where I was. So I put the in a sat nav, and my ETA was 10:30 to get to Sunderland. So I did that. I sort of turned around, went back up the A1M, and made it to Sunderland for 10:30. It was a hospital that I was delivering to. I have been there before, so I vaguely knew where to park, and I vaguely knew where to go. I had to get to a particular department, and luckily it was signposted, and luckily, even more luckily for me, it was actually near to the parking place. It's like a waiting for 20 minutes area, like a drop off from that zone, and I was able to go there and walk in with the parcel. while I waited for them to give me their return parcel, I utilised their toilet facilities, and then they were ready, and I took the parcel back out and got back in my van, and then did the CX system, and then got myself off site. So now I had a choice. I didn't have to get this back until at the latest 5 o'clock, and that's back in Warrington. And I could either just dead mile it to Warrington as soon as I could, which was about 2.5 hours, and then from there find a job sort of back home, or I could sort of try and find a job that got me to Warrington and then try and find a job back home. And there's never really, in my mind, a real decision to make. I was always going to try and utilise the journey from Sunderland to Warrington and make money. So I was looking for jobs, and it wasn't too bad. There was quite a few jobs. So what time was this? This would have been about probably about 11:15 by the time I got back in the van. And so there's a few jobs around, but I got one in the end. So I thought I wasn't going to hang around. I drove out of the hospital out towards the outskirts of Sunderland as I was looking for jobs, and then a job came up from Middlesbrough going to Tadcaster, which was kind of ideal for me because it kind of got me close to Leeds, which I thought would be a good area to get work from. So it was 63 loaded miles for I think it was a long wheelbase. I went with £60 just because it was so convenient, and I was about 30 miles from Middlesbrough, about 40 minutes away. But I was going that way anyway. I was driving that way. The actual pick up and drop off were exactly on the route I was taking to get down back to Warrington. So I did that bit and then carried on driving, and I got it. And yes, that was it. I wasn't given a phone call. It just came through on my system, and then I always find that very suspicious because it's quite rare. So I had a look at the notes. The only thing on the notes said was I had to pick it up between 11 and 12, and I was going to arrive by about 20 to 12. I had to deliver it by 1 o'clock, and the extra journey was 1 hour and 5 minutes. So I thought, well, that's feasible, it's doable. There was nothing about it I could see was wrong. So I made my way to Middlesbrough. I got to the pickup point, which was a very security conscious, large chemical site, and this is where it started to go slightly wrong. I arrived at sort of like 11:45, and I had to watch a video for the safety, and then I had to drive in my van in and park up and go to the logistics office. When I went there and told them my reference number and where I was taking a load, they didn't have any idea what it was. I said, well, do you know what you're taking? I said, no. There's no load dimensions or load weight on my booking, just a reference number and the name of the place I was going to. So after quite a long wait, eventually the ladies in the office did come back to me with sort of understanding about what was happening, and they directed me round to a part of the site to pick up a pallet, and they gave me some paperwork. And I said, come back when you've loaded up and give us that paperwork back. So I went round the site, got to the right location. You had to beep your horn, there's no bell. And I sort of beeped my horn, but then I noticed there are lots and lots of stored chemical containers. And suddenly I wondered, am I going to be given an ADR load? There was stuff outside the warehouse, sort of in barrels with UN numbers on, and there's other sort of chemicals in bigger containers. And so I took the paperwork to I saw a lady in the office, a little mini office, I sort of waved to her. She waved to me to come to her. I went down there, gave her the paperwork, and she knew from the logistics office to expect me. And I gave her the paperwork, and I said, just before we get started, is this an ADR load? She said, no, it wasn't. So I was sort of reassured, but I thought, wow, I'm still doubtful. So she directed me to the forklift driver. She said he would sort me out. And so I gave him my paperwork, and then I waited. I asked him to put the pallet. I asked him how many pallets have I got. He said 1. So I said I'll keep it on the side of my van. So I parked with the side door open because it's the best point instead of evenly loading my van for 1 pallet. And then he was around, sort of not doing much, looking at paperwork, looking at a screen for ages. He had a screen in his forklift, which was really good. It had the orders on his forklift, and he had paperwork I had to give to him. And I went to him and said, "What is there a problem?" And he said, "Do you know how many pallets you're taking?" And I said, I didn't know. And he said, "Well, I've got 1 pallet on the paperwork, but 2 pallets on the order." And obviously my van's big enough to take 2 pallets. So I sort of said to him, well, okay, well, can you double check? Because he said he would check with the office. And then I said, and then I sort of just checked how heavy is the pallet we're taking. And he said 900 kilograms. And I said, oh right, that's fair enough. I can't take more than 1. So that, whether it's 2 or 1, I can only take 1. And then he pointed out what it was. It was the bags of salt. And I think it was gritting salt. So then that hasn't got any UN numbers on. And so I was now settled that I was going to take 1 pallet, which was 900 kilograms of salt, and he was going to double check with his office that was correct, but I knew that what I was doing now. Anyway, so he got that loaded. I then had to go back to the office and then gave the paper that was given by the logistics office back to them. They printed off, well, they asked me if I wanted a delivery note. I said I did want one. So they printed off 2 copies of the delivery note, and she explained to me at this point that the order did have 2 pallets, but she crossed out 1 because apparently she said there was going to be another driver to pick up the 2nd pallet. So that made a lot of sense now. I was there to pick up the pallet, 1 pallet of 2. So I felt that everything had been checked and it was in order. My paperwork matched what I was taking, and I was happy with that. So by this time, though, it had been about half an hour. So I put my hour journey in, and it was going to be about 20 past 1. No, half past 1. By the time I put 20 past 1 as my ETA. Then just as I got on the road, there was an accident on the A1M. I did a diversion which was slightly quicker, about 10 minutes quicker, and ended up being a half past 1 arrival time on site. So I didn't think anything of this. I just carried on doing my hour's journey to Tadcaster. I was going to a brewery, if I know how to say that word, and I went into the first part where the setup took me. And then I asked the guy where the goods in was, and he said he had to go back out around the corner. And I could sort of see through the wire gate where I was that there were kegs all stored up. So I was in the right place, but to get the right entrance. So I'm back out round the main road, and I found a really obvious delivery gate and a security gate. So I went to the security gate and I showed them my paperwork and told them what I had on board, 1 bag of pallets of salt, and they didn't really have any idea who it's to go to because different departments. There was a sort of name that the name that I collected from did ring a bell for them, so they rang somebody, and obviously they got through to somebody who said they were expecting the item. So they gave me a map of the security gave me a map of the site, explained where to go, and then told me the name of the person who's going to meet me. And I concentrated really hard, looked at the map. It looked reasonably complicated, but I thought if I look at if I follow the instructions, look out for various landmarks, then I should be okay. But I got kind of lost. The markings on the road weren't very clear. There was lots of roads coming here and there. It wasn't an obvious route through. And I saw this guy waving at me. And luckily, the guy who I was due to meet had come over to sort of halfway down the yard to where the turning off was, and then met me. And we got in. He got in the van. He took me to the drop off place, the goods in place for this item. He was a little bit grumpy because he said it's oh yeah, by this point, by the time the security guards had worked out where I was going, by the time I got there it was 2 o'clock. So he was saying it's 2 o'clock on a Friday, should be getting deliveries now. So I don't know what time they expect to get deliveries. Obviously it was late for him, and he was going to clock off at 2:30. I think I got there at 1:45. By the time I was offloaded, it was 2 o'clock. But anyway, so I explained to him there's another van coming, and he was a bit. He said, "What time are they coming?" I said, "I don't know. I've got no idea." So I said, "I'd ring my boss." So I rang the shipper. I got through to somebody else who was dealing with it, not the person themselves, because they were on a lunch break. I asked them to relay a message about the second van collecting, and that at the delivery point they're going to be off work by 2:30. I didn't feel that it necessarily was taken on board, but I did the best I could. I passed on the message from the collection point and the shipper that I was delivering to, and the delivery point to the shipper. And I was really pleased, really thankful that I'd got myself offloaded. I was able to get off site, in good time. So I was off site by 2 o'clock. And then on the way to this drop off, I got a really good email. And it was an email from the person who I used to regard as being my regular shipper from High Wycombe. And out of the blue, he sent me a request to quote him for some work for next week. Do the same sort of stuff I did before. It wasn't like an ongoing contract, just a sort of ad hoc, a few weeks work. And I was really pleased and thankful that he sort of remembered me. I replied straight away saying I was driving, but I would give him a quote before the end of the day. So at 2 o'clock, between 2 and 2:30, I was calculating a quote for 4 separate routes around the country next week. And it was quite complex for me to sort of do properly, correctly. I did it based on mileage for a long wheelbase van, and I did it based on starting off at the first collection point, which will be nowhere near my home, but I'd be able to hopefully get there from a job in the morning. And what I did before. So I put in the quotes, 4 routes, and explained a little bit about how I'd do it, like I did, just a reminder from before, and then left it with him. And he said that he's put the quotes out for tender, and he'd get back to me by the end of the day to let me know what's happening. So I was a little bit deflated that I hadn't won the jobs at all. I possibly wouldn't win any of the jobs at all. I was hoping that I'd win them, or get something out of it anyway. So now I was at Tadcaster, sort of just outside of Leeds, looking for work, getting me towards northwest Warrington. And I was because it was now 2:30, I was kind of running out of time, so I had to get to Warrington before 5. And that was about an hour and 20 minutes journey, hour and 10 minutes where I was. So I had probably an hour spare to sort of do a pick up and do a delivery before I got to Warrington. So a job did come up that was from Normanton, which was about half an hour where I was, and it was going to places I've not heard of before. On the booking, it was going to a place called Charnock Richard with a PR postcode, and then I noticed there was a stop with it, and that was going to Chorley, another PR postcode. And I thought that's a stop. It's in the northwest. It's not far from Warrington. I reckon I could probably just about fit this in. So I thought, to be on the safe side, if I get offered this job, I would ask them if I go to Warrington first and then deliver their load. So I put a bid in for £80 for 76 loaded miles, and it was for a small van. I think it was. Might have been a short wheelbase, but it wasn't anything I was worrying about in terms of size. And I'm going to tell you now, I doubted myself when I first did this, but now I'm pretty sure there were no notes on this one. I'm pretty sure there were no notes. I'm sure I would have noticed it if there was. And I got this job, and I explained to the guy, I will take this job, but I must drop off quickly a box in Warrington before I do drop off. Is that okay? And he kind of said that was fine. When I explained that it was just a box and to go to a lobby, it was very quick. So I reassured him I'd go and pick up his now. I was half an hour away. I'd go to Warrington and then I'd go to drop off his. And he agreed. So I then started heading off towards Normington. And I suppose I should have realised, but I haven't done this job long enough to realise what's in Normington. And there'll be those of you who know what I'm about to say. When I looked at the notes that would come through when I got the booking, I just realised it was an alcohol delivery. And me and alcohol deliveries don't get along. We're not best buddies. I've done it once and it was a horrible experience. So my heart sank, but at least I thought, at least I've agreed to do Warrington first, because there's no way I would have got the two alcohol deliveries done before 5 o'clock. So at least I was sensible with that and not overly optimistic about getting there. So I got to Normington. I've been there before. I knew the system. I knew what to expect. The only thing that was a bit off-putting was you've got to wait for your turn to be loaded up, and there's like a van waiting place. And there was 3 vans ahead of me. A Luton being loaded and 3 vans ahead of me. So I got my paperwork, moved my van. I got back in my van. As I got back in my van, one of the vans that was parked up went off. Oh, that's good. There's 2 vans there now. So I went to park next to the 2 vans, and then I waited for the Luton to finish. And I sort of knew, well, the Luton goes, and then the next 2 vans go, then I go. So, but then I was looking at the clock, and I had about half an hour spare to get loaded before I had to then get to Warrington. And I thought this could take longer than the time I've got. This could easily take 15 minutes per van, and I'd be really late. I'll be late and unable to deliver. And I thought, could I possibly ask them to go ahead of them? And I thought, there's no way it's going to go down well. So the Luton van went off, and I was looking to my left at these 2 vans parked up, and they weren't moving. And I thought, they must have noticed the van's gone. So I waited for about a minute, looking across, and the first guy was on the phone, and the other guy was just next to him. And I thought, well, okay, they're not moving. I'll tentatively get in this space, see if I can get my load done before them. So I reversed slowly up in case they were going to moan at me. Reversed to the spot, got out, and then I said to Fookie, I think I'm taking their space. And he said, no, they're just service guys. I noticed they had a service sort of writing on their van. And there's another van also with the same writing, parts not in the same place. So I was served straight away, and I was off site within sort of 10 minutes of that. So my ETA to Warrington when I left Normington was something like 4:40. and so I had 20 minutes sort of spare in case of traffic, and it's about an hour and 10 minutes journey. So I made my way along the M62 towards Manchester and then on to Warrington, and then the traffic got a bit busy at Manchester, and there's one particular junction where there's quite a long hold up. But I stayed in the middle lane for ages and then pulled in at the last moment, not literally last moment, like within very safely, and there was a gap to the first lane. I stayed about 5 or 10 minutes doing that. So, as it was, because I knew where I was going, I'd been there yesterday, and it's just basically a box. I knew that once I'd got through the traffic, I was fine. And I arrived on site a bit earlier than I was expecting. I arrived at 4:35, and I noticed that the gates at the back were open for the goods in. So I thought I'd go to the goods in first, just in case that's where they want it. I rang the bell. It was answered. And they said to bring it to the lobby, which is what I did at the front of the building. I delivered it, and then was off site by 4:45. And now I had to make my way to Charnock Richard, and then Chorley to do my deliveries for my alcohol, my kegs. I had 7 kegs in total. Obviously, the first delivery point had 3, and the second one had 4 kegs. And the keg, I now know after my last experience, you can roll the kegs. So as before, I stopped carrying them, but now I know you can roll them. So I made my way to the first pub, and the landlord came out and told me just to put them by the door because his cellar door was covered by the car. So he showed me how to get them off the van, sort of roll them onto your knee and then drop them down to the floor. You had a phrase for it. So it's like you use the bottom or something like that. I can't remember what it is. And then we rolled it to the door, which is only about. I was really about 3 meters from where I was dropping them off. So really, really easy. So 3 kegs delivered there, picture taken, sign paperwork, off to the next place. The next place was really busy. They told me to go around the back and open the gate for me, and I rolled the barrels, kegs, up to the entrance of the cellar, but not down inside it. And it was a bit uphill, and it was about 5 meters, but again much easier than my previous experience. So all in all, because I had a bit of a different technique to get them off the van, and because I could roll them, because it was very close, it wasn't actually that bad this time. So I was finished. I'd finished both those deliveries by about 6:35, 6:40, and then I had to look for another job. So I was trying to get a job back home, and I put my mileage into a spreadsheet, and I'm just now dead mining at home looking for work. I'm thinking it's going to not I'm not going to get a job, so I'm going to assume that it's all the way home. It's about a 3-hour journey, so I'll be back home about 10 o'clock, depending on traffic. And one thing I forgot to say, so sort of the ups and downs of today. I did get an email. I was offered one of the routes that I put a bid on for next week, and I think it was a kind of, I'm going to call it a pity job. I don't mean that as a negative. I wasn't going to be quoting particularly low. I just quote what I think is fair, which I know other people do it for cheaper. And I think the guy gave me the biggest and most expensive job because he likes what I do, but probably found cheaper people to do the other jobs. So pity is the wrong word. I think he gave me the job as a sort of a mark of thanks for doing a job for him before, but I don't think he could afford to do all of it with me. So that's how I read it anyway. So I've got like the best job that I put a bid on for, and that is going. It's quite a long one, to be fair. It's picking up in an LA postcode, so Lancaster way. It's going to North Wales, Rhyl, and then it's going to South Wales, Newport way, and then it's going to High Wycombe. And it's going to be about a 10-hour day, that is. So I need to get there for Tuesday. I've booked in to do that. It is flexible, so if I don't do Tuesday, it doesn't matter too much. So I need to get on Monday, get a job from where I live to somewhere near Lancaster area, and then on Tuesday I can then do that run back. So we'll see how that goes. Right, I've got some stats for today and yesterday combined, and also for the week. So I'll do like a combination of each day separately and the combined. No, I'll just do the combined. I'll do a combined to 2 days and then average it out for 2 days. Because I had one job that spanned 2 days, it's unfair to assign that job to either one day or the other, or even both. Just making an adjustment to the spreadsheet. Right, here we go. So also, I forgot to mention, I've got a new average fuel price because I filled up with fuel today after Warrington and before I got the first drop off of my kegs. I filled up with fuel. So my average fuel price now for this week is 15.06 pence per mile. So over the last 2 days I drove a total of 813 miles, 813. Now this is going to assume I just dead mile it home tonight. That includes those miles. That's an average over the 2 days of 407 miles, rounding it up, per day. I worked a total yesterday of just over 9 hours, and today it'll be 13 hours. So an average of 11 hours over the 2 days. And I've earned a total gross amount of money of £565, which that's from 5 CX. 5 CX jobs. So the first CX job was the £175 from Wisbech to Bolton yesterday. The second CX job was from Warrington to St Helens yesterday. The third CX job was the combination, the way and return from Warrington to Sunderland over 2 days. The third CX job was this morning, which was £60 going from Middlesbrough to Tadcaster, and then I got £80 for my last CX job today, going from Normanton, and there's the 2 drop-offs with Chorley and Carlton. Carlton Richards. So a total of 565, an average over the 2 days of 283. My fuel costs in total for the both days, £125 and 28 pence, 125, and that averages out per day at £62 and 64 pence. My average amount earned after fuel for the last 2 days comes to £220. So I earned £440 net of fuel over those 2 days. That brings me now to my summary for the week. Update the pivot table, refresh it. Here we go. Right, so I worked for 4 days this week. I drove a total of 1,482 miles, 1482. I worked for 43 and a half hours in total, and I took in gross £1,055, 1055. I spent £232 and 39 pence on fuel, 232, which meant that I've, after fuel, earned £823 over 4 days. My average earnings, pence per mile, after fuel's taken off, is 55.51 pence per mile. That's every mile that I've driven. So that doesn't count for the dead miles that I've done this week. My average amount earned over the week after fuel per day is £206. I'll round it up to that. 206. And my average amount of earnings after taking into account business costs per hour, I've earned, my hourly rate this week has been £11.55 per hour. So that's how much I've earned per hour after I've taken into account my business costs and obviously fuel. So things are getting slightly better than the previous weeks. I think my last 2 days, so today and yesterday, I feel pretty good about those 2 days. They've been full on, they've been long hours, but they've been pleasant work, pleasant jobs to do. And I had good news about the job for my previous regular shipper. Even if I only get the one job for next week, that's better than nothing. So yeah, so that's my week. That's my day. I'm going to leave the video there. Next week, I'm not going to be working on Friday. My van's going in for a service, full service, and a new cam belt. Which would be good to have that done. I'm sort of pushing the mileage for this new one. For a 4, it's 125,000 miles. I think I'm on about 130 at the moment, since that's what was changed. I need to look at it. I'm not worrying about it. It'll be changed next week. So, thank you very much for watching and listening to my video. And I shall check back in with you on Monday. See what adventures we get into next week. Farewell, friends.